Hello and welcome to our Nigerian viewers and viewers across the world. This is the Morning Brief. Thank you indeed for joining us here on the program. I am Kelly Egiga, and if you're familiar with the football territory, then you know that the January transfer window is still open, and that's why I'm here this morning, standing in for Ayode and Jeff. But Bukola is right here on the show. Hi, Bukola. Good morning.
Yes, indeed, Kelly, good morning. It's good to be with you again in the same boat. We seldom are in the same boat on presentations, but it's good to have you back on the program. Kelly Agiga joins me, Bukola Koka, on this beautiful Thursday morning, of course, on your perfect morning starter, right here on Channels Television. So welcome, wherever you're watching us from. Of course, as always, it promises to be a jolly good ride, helping you make sense of all of the biggest developments in the polity in the last 24 hours. Speaking of which, we begin with the Red Chamber this morning. Something significant did happen. The Senate has disclosed plans to hold an executive briefing over the December 25 U.S. airstrikes on terrorist targets in Sokoto State. And of course, this followed concerns raised by the senator from Bauchi State, Abdul Ningi, who said, based on Nigeria's constitution, the executive has no right to approve such airstrikes on Nigerian soil without carrying the National Assembly along. That even if the president must deploy military anywhere outside the country, it of course has to seek the concurrence of the National Assembly, as we have seen following the deployment of military in recent times to Benin Republic. And, you know, the Senate President's intervention was to the effect that security matters cannot be disclosed, cannot be discussed in full public glare, and that there would be an executive briefing on that matter. But he did acknowledge that the Nigerian government, through the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, disclosed that that airstrike was carried along with the approval, with the cooperation of the Nigerian government through relevant security agents. So, Kelly.
Bukola, I'm not sure how excited I am over this particular meeting. It is, first of all, taking us someone from the opposition. You see him on your screen there, Senator Abdul Ningi, who was humiliated, embarrassed, and suspended some months back. It's only taking him to question why the Red Chamber, or both houses, were not carried along as regards these strikes. And this is what we want to see the opposition do more. We want to see the opposition question the ruling party, question the decisions, you know, of the ruling party a bit more, and put them under some sort of pressure, especially as we build up to the 2027 election. So it's taking us, Senator Abdul Ningi, to bring that to limelight. I'm also disappointed with the leadership of the Senate because it's been over a month since that strike occurred in Sokoto, more than 1 month. And then I'm also going to question why the Senate president had to use the term, we don't discuss security matters in, quote, open market. I'm not sure what exactly he means by that, because Nigerians deserve to know. Nigerians deserve to know from you, who they voted in, and your colleagues, to know why this happened without you knowing. I mean, sometimes we play politics, but security is not something we need to keep playing politics with. If you watch the US, you see that opposition, sometimes you see opposition support even the ruling party, whether it's Democrats or the Republican. And I mean, there's time for politics, but when it has to do with national security, you see them openly vote for, you know, what concerns national interests, and they keep politics aside. So I'm not sure why exactly it's taking the Senate more than 1 month to call for this kind of sensitive meeting, and then the fact that it's a closed door, it's going to be a closed door session. I would have expected that, you know what, let Nigerians get to see and hear from the representatives right there at the Red Chambers exactly what played out. So big shout out to Senator Abdul Ningi for bringing this and questioning the Senate leadership over this. but one would expect the Senate to do more, to do better than the Senate is doing now. Yes, we understand that security is something that, you know, we have to handle carefully and all of that. But it looks like the U.S. has always been ahead of us in many ways. First of all, they did that strike. We thought, I mean, okay, fine, we need the strikes and all. But our body language has not showed that we are a sovereign nation. From the executive to the legislative arm, we have not showed that, you know what, we are indeed a sovereign nation. We can handle this by ourselves. Thank you for your help, but now we are going to take charge of all of this. So I think we have to do better. We cannot keep reacting to these things. I mean, and of course, I must also mention that for those who have been victims of this crisis, who have been victims of this insecurity, I know that they will definitely seek help no matter where it is coming from. So I am with you on this, wherever you are in the northern part of the country where perhaps you have victims or you have family members, you have lost family members, you have lost friends. We are totally with you on this because we know that for people like that, you have definitely seek help, no matter where that help is coming from. So I want to see the government of the day do better, Bukola, in terms of security. Politics is not something that we have to play around with all the time and play around with it when it even has to do with issues of security, national security of any sovereign nation. Bukola.
Well, first of all, Kelly, perhaps we should cast our minds back to December the 25th, and the events of that time will, you know, help you remember just how untidy the management of the whole airstrike business was on the part of the Nigerian government, because we first heard on December the 26th, the morning of the 26th, the U.S. president had, you know, put up on his Truth Social a confirmation that, you know, that airstrike had been carried out in his characteristic, you know, satirical language, and just talking about how the terrorists would, you know, get more of such treatment. And it was later on that the Nigerian government did confirm that, yes, the airstrike had been carried out in cooperation with relevant security agents, and that even the subsequent reconnaissance that was carried out, they provided the intelligence. So it appeared as if the management of the, you know, information and the communication bit of it was not well, you know, carried out, well executed on the part of the Nigerian government. Was it belated? Certainly. Was it face-saving? We don't know, but amid the circumstances, we cannot help, you know, but begin to draw inferences to that effect, that perhaps this was face-saving after the U.S. had gone ahead to, you know, release the information ahead of the Nigerian government. And so if the Senate comes up now and says that, look, this could not have been carried, this shouldn't have been carried out without concurrence of the National Assembly, then it seems as if the federal government is working at cross purposes, because for some it should seem as a surprise that if security was such a confidential business, if it was such a sensitive matter, that the entire federal government, because the federal government is not just the executive, but also the National Assembly as well, and you know, the judiciary as well, and the National Assembly had not been carried along behind closed doors about such, you know, a sensitive and important business, then we should ask questions about the lack of synergy between the different arms of government on a matter as important as security. And so we ask again, I'll never tire of saying it, of more accountability on matters that affect the well-being of Nigerians. And perhaps this also goes to support Kelly, you know, conclusions reached about what's it called now? The contract to the U.S. public relations firm, you know, to promote a better narrative about efforts of the Nigerian government to protect Christian communities back in Nigeria, contrary to the position insisted upon by the Nigerian government that indeed both Christians and Muslims are being targeted, are being attacked, not just Christian communities. And so if that has been done, is it also, to give a sense that everything is well back home and that, there shouldn't be another airstrike carried out by the Nigerian government to prevent, by the U.S. government rather, to prevent a repeat of such? We should be getting more answers to this. And, we look forward to engagements with the relevant, ministries and authorities to help us understand the nature of the, collaboration between the Nigerian government and the U.S. government to protect Nigeria's territorial integrity and sovereignty as a nation. Yeah.
Bukola, compelling arguments you've made there, and we cannot wait to have a better Nigeria. I also want to commend the likes of former Senator Shehu Sani, who have openly backed the strikes by the U.S. against ISIS in the northern region, though he has also called for the Nigerian government to also take leadership. So we want to see people like that, commend, not just play politics with security, but commend such moves, look at it from all angles. But hey, let's get to do you what our radar looks like this morning on the morning brief. We get to, well, dissect and unpack issues around the Makoko demolitions. It's been in the news for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, if you look at the history of Makoko and demolitions, it goes way back to 2005. What exactly is the concern of the Lagos State government with Makoko? What's the interest of the government? And of course, we hear that the police fired tear gas on protesters yesterday. We'll get to unpack all of this on the program this morning.
And Lagos will not just be, the state in our line of vision this morning. We'll also visit Osun briefly, of course, from here, as we look at the continuing row over local government administration between the now Accord Party-led government of Governor Ademola Adeleke and the All Progressives Congress, as reports suggest that there may have been some readjustments or transfer of local government officials. And how does that move the needle in this continuing legal battle over local government administration in Osun State? So stay with us for that conversation on the program.
All right, so there you go. That looks like our focus this morning. We'll get to unpack a lot more. But first, we get to take a look at the papers this morning and see what the national dailies are saying. We're back in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program, everyone. This is the morning brief. Let's head to the dailies now, everyone, and see what exactly the headlines are saying. Dr. Ambrose Igboke is the chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter. As always, he joins us live on the program from the core city. I'm not sure I've said Happy New Year to you just yet, Dr. Igboke. So Happy New Year to you. And how's the core city this morning?
Kelly. Good morning, Kelly. I don't know, you went on a sabbatical on the morning brief.
I mean, you know how you know the drill, Dr. Igboke. I mean, you're a journalist yourself. All right, so let's begin with the New Telegraph and just see how we can bring in some of the major riders this morning. It stays with, what we tried to open with on the show this morning. U.S. airstrikes, security isn't something we discuss in open market. I mean, open market in quotes, says Akpabio, the Senate President. If you look at the riders underneath that, it says Senate opts for closed door session as Ningi queries alleged NAS exclusion. Dr. Igboke, those are my concerns indeed. It's taking a certain Senator Abdul Ningi, to question why the Red Chamber and Green Chamber perhaps were excluded from information around these strikes. And then, what's the idea behind a closed-door session 1 month after the strikes, more than 1 month after the strikes occurred?
Well, I think the Senate is not playing to the gallery. Where was the Senate where people were being massacred, where the citizens of this country were being massacred by these terrorists? Where was the Senate where it seems that the Nigerian government, which is inclusive of the Senate, had no solution or had no remedy to the massacre of people? Where were the senators where people were being kidnapped, villages were being sacked, thousands of people were being buried in mass graves, and there was this pressure on every facet of our life, people, and then the Senate continued business. Rather, they were busy steering constituency projects and the rest. And the Senate president was busy sending some gifts to their email or something like that. So why was it that when the United States of America got tired of our complacency and they decided to strike, 1 month later, the Senate just suddenly woke up and said we're supposed to be carried along? The American government was tired of. Remember, there were rumors of leaks of intelligence. That sometimes our troops were being ambushed. Where was the Senate when all these things were happening? Did the Senate give marching orders to the executive to declare state of emergency on security and do something immediately? So all these things are just playing to the gallery. The Senate is pretending as if they care about us, the citizens. That is just playing the ostrich here. And then it was a covert operation. So the fewer the people that know, the better, because there have been rumors of leaks of intelligence reports and here and there. So for me, the Senate is just blowing hot air. No intelligence report will be given to that crowd of people, not even the Senate Committee on Defense. It will be a very dangerous gamble.
Dr. Bouquet, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the laws as regards this. If we look at what has played out, what exactly could, yeah, so what exactly could perhaps be the possible consequences on the executive for taking such a decision without carrying the National Assembly along?
Well, there are states of emergency. When there's a state of emergency in a sector, especially going through what we have gone through, when you don't trust some certain levels of governance, not to keep intelligence confidential, then as a commander-in-chief, you got to do what you got to do, especially when you're under pressure from a country like United States of America. Or do you want what happened to Maduro in Venezuela to happen to us here? So even United States of America, the Congress accused Donald Trump of carrying out some classified raids without their information. So sometimes these things are exigencies of the moment and emergency. But that does not remove when it comes to routine military interventions, well, those things can be passed through the bureaucracy of informing the Senate or not. But I fully support this time. I fully support that raid, and I fully support the fact that it was kept within a close circle of people. It was a state of emergency, and during the state of emergency, a lot of things happened.
Dr. Bouquet, let's stretch the argument a bit further because of the importance of the subject in focus, security. Aren't we in a more precarious position because this has been raised by an opposition lawmaker? So aren't we in a more precarious position because of the opposition thinning out, as we have seen in defections? And do you feel a sense that the federal government is trying to create a false sense of order at home as far as security is concerned, such that we do not have a repeat airstrike in the country by the U.S.?
I don't think there's any connection to the defections and what is happening here, because the defection of the Nigerian politicians this last few months does not have anything to do with the welfare of the citizens, be it security, be it food pricing, be it health, be it education, nothing. It's just for self-perpetuation and whatever agreement they have with the president. Some of them are seeking for automatic tickets. Some of them want to consolidate their return to power. Some of them want to ensure that when they get out, that they are not witch-hunted by some people like the EFCC and the ICPC. A lot of reasons are adduced for cross-carpeting, but never for once think that one of the reasons is for welfare of citizens.
Well, do you feel a sense that the federal government is trying to create a false sense of order, such that we don't have a repeat of airstrikes on home soil
the
by the
process
U.S.?
of it is no longer okay. It's no longer in the hands of the federal government. The federal government had all these years to ensure that they stemmed the tide of these terrorists inflicting death in a wanton proportion on our people, but they didn't do it. So the federal government is not, it's not even the will of the federal government, this thing that is going on now. It is beyond the federal government. A superpower under the aegis of United States is trying to make this a global issue. It's trying to make it that it is a genocide, that once genocide is invoked in a global diplomacy, it means that you may lose the authority to act in some of these ways. So the federal government is frantic. They're not even doing this according to their own plans, because if it was according to their plans, they would have routed these terrorists a long time ago. So for anybody to say, oh, well, it seems the government wants to have sense of order and the rest. What is happening now is that the federal government is trying to do everything possible to ensure that the Americans are trying to start to believe them that they want to do something to tackle the insecurity. Every other thing is in the realm of speculation. The Nigerian government is not very palatable with the issue of the threat issued by the American president, and they are trying to do everything possible for that. Every other thing comes secondary to this.
All right. Fair argument. Let's head now to the Guardian newspaper as we look at another matter of national importance. And the Guardian looks at the power sector this morning. Take a look at the headline. Despite demand, 2.5 million meters may rot away as FG discos trade blame. Of course, details are on page 5. We do have a sense of what the Guardian is trying to help us understand this morning beneath the big headline. You see in a box there, funding for metering initiatives. World Bank loan 2023, $155 million for 12 million meters. World Bank credit to 2024, $500 million for financial technical support. You see another there, 21 billion naira funded via tariffs. That's for meter assist financing. Presidential metering initiative also put at 700 billion naira. I could go on and on there, Dr. Ibuke. Still, we have a huge challenge of, a very remarkable difference between capacity and what is put out and generation. And we also have a very big challenge with power grid collapses. And despite legislation, we also have a lack of intervention significantly at the subnational level in looking at alternative sources of power. What exactly is wrong with our power sector?
I think the answer to your question, straightforward, is that nobody is held accountable. Nobody has been made to pay for the rots in the power sector. Remember the $16 million issue for the IPP? Remember also that in 2016, I think 2015, 2016, the CBN doled out some billions for intervention in the power sector. Now, I don't think that was captured here. Okay? What did this power sector, the owners of this power distribution companies or generating companies do with the money? Then we had here again, remember as far back as the time, I think Mr. Fashola was governor of Lagos State, there was this issue of having a meter producing company in Badagry. I still remember that vividly. What has come of that? The issue of metering has been a sore point in our electricity sector. Why? Because some people make more money. Some people just make more money when they don't have when you are not metered because of estimated billing. So they prefer that you pay for what you don't use, what you didn't use. They prefer that they come every month, look at you and slam you with a cost. According to them, they read it from the power you take from the transformer, and they distribute the money across the people who use that transformer. So whether you're at home, whether you travel for 3 months or not, it doesn't matter. You just, it is fixed. You pay. So that has been a pattern. And therefore, some of the distribution company, you can see that the way they adjusted their meter The meter that used to run, they used to pay 10,000 for a month. Now, some people are paying 60,000 in band A for a month. They adjusted the meter to a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. So those are the people get away with this kind of malfeasance, and there's nobody to account for it. So money will keep on going down the drain in our power sector because we are not ready to really tackle that sector. Our grid is getting old. Some of those grids were installed in the 60s after we have done the Kenji Dam. I think the Kenji Dam was commissioned either 1968 or 1969. And after that, all our power grid, there are no serious efforts to really upgrade them into the modern infrastructure. And then when you talk of alternative power, alternative power in Nigeria now, what we do is just we do solar light, we do solar boreholes. I mean, the pedestrian activities in that sector. We have not really tried to see how we can do a broad roadmap for off-grid solutions, because when we load all our electricity demand on grid, then we're having a problem. What happens to where the grid lines do not pass through? So the government is not even making an effort to ensure that happens. So off-grid solution, most of our off-grid solutions have been funded by external bodies, multilateral organizations and the rest. Is that how we're going to survive as a country? And so we are not ready yet. And in 2026, we are still celebrating 5-7 megawatts of electricity, while countries that are half our population are celebrating 80,000, 100,000, over 100,000 megawatts of electricity. People like China and another level entirely. So why are we still down there? Because money is dropping down, and nobody is being accountable for it. So until we are ready to improve in our power sector, we shall continue to be in darkness.
Dr. Bouquet, well, I'm not sure how that phrase will be received in some quarters. I tell you what, I'm just seeing the back and forth between Mr. Peter Obi and Reno Mokri. I'm seeing some basbos, as we refer, or we call it in this part of the world, between both over this issue. Reno Mokri having to cite the fact that even in the US, there are issues around power outages and all of that. And Peter Obi, of course, always with data armed, questioning the ruling party over issues around power. But let's stay with The Guardian for just a moment. Top right of that newspaper stays with issues around politics and elections. Top right of The Guardian newspaper. Perhaps two issues in one, Dr. Egboke. Senate to debate Electoral Act Amendment Bill today. Senate to debate Electoral Act Amendment Bill today. Issues around transmission of results electronically, Dr. Egboke. And then you can also just speak on the fact that Rabiu Kwankwaso has been speaking following the defection of his political godson. He says, I am still shocked by Yusuf's defection to the APC. I am still shocked by Yusuf's defection to APC, says Kwankwaso.
For the senators, for me, my scorecard for this Senate is very disappointing. The Senate of this other distant Senate is very disappointing. In fact, it's sad that we have this kind of Senate where we are supposed to be projecting how to move this country forward. A Senate that sits down knowing that an election, after the 2023 election, after they have been sworn in June 2023, actually knows that another election is coming up in 2027. They have all the time to initiate a bill. They had 2023, they had the whole of 2024, they had the whole of 2025. They had half of 2023 from June to December. 2.5 years. You didn't do anything about electoral reform, about the bill. Then, just a year, 12 months to an election, INEC has released tentative timetable, where political parties has already fixed their congresses and what to do with their primaries. You are still debating about how to, enact a law that will run an election that is coming out. In fact, most of the congresses will take place this year. That's coming up in a period of 6 months or 7 months for some parties. that goes to show that the Senate is not serious. Because how else do you explain the fact that they waited till January to start debating? We are already, next week is February. So we are talking about passing electoral law. And if this law is actually accepted to and passed, imagine the kind of waste we will incur by changing timetables, maybe printing ballot boxes, some of the ballot papers, some of the parties that have put their primaries date or congresses, they will start rescheduling. A lot of logistics is going to take place, and it may finally affect the the electoral process entirely. And so it's shameful that we are saying this. But in the substance of the matter, we need to correct some of the anomalies in the 2023 in the Electoral Act that we went to do the 2023 election, where that clause that allows INEC to decide whether to transmit directly or to do it the way they like. I think that place should be abolished. It should be transmitted online, real time. And as we are told, the BVAS also have a way that it can store offline if there is no network. And when it comes to a network, it automatically uploads. And that is what should be done. But when you give INEC some leeway, when you insert a clause that INEC will use to do whatever, one man or a team of 10 men can sit down somewhere and decide what to do with the rest of our country, it's not fair on us as citizens. Then as for Alhaji Rabi Kwakwanso, he has tried. He has held on to his Kwakwasia movement for a very long time now. I mean, it has become a formidable movement. But somehow, he has been having issues with his successors recently. But he always come out. He's a former deputy governor. Later he came back. Later the APC won. Later he won them back. But I just think that this thing is a political brouhaha between godfather and godson. Something tells me that these people planned this defection and to have balancing so that one leg will be in APC, the Kwakwasia movement will still be there, and then the PP will still be there, and I can run this in a mix. I'm not fooled by all this shenanigans happening. These things are well thought out.
Dr. Ibuke, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that. It's politics, you know.
Politics colors and shapes everything, almost everything that we do.
Absolutely. And even the attempt by the Senate, perhaps, maybe to stall or delay issues around electronic transmission of results. I'm thinking if perhaps it's a deliberate move, it's a smart move, it's a strategic move. I mean, you know how this works, Bukola.
I thought that they'll tell us there's no time, that they tried to do, but there was no time.
Oh, my word.
So we should also be interpreting delays as perhaps a matter of politics as well. As we wrap up now.
Delays are tactical.
All right. We won't forget that, Dr. Ibuke. As we wrap up now, let's head to Daily Independent, which takes a departure from politics and the economy and takes a look at, what affects perhaps 80 to 90% of Nigerians. Weak enforcement fuels quiet motor insurance crisis. We've seen this play out for much of 2025 when the police began enforcement of, the insurance component of vehicle papers for motorists. We wonder if that has been sustained or that has quietly gone under as well. But the matter of insurance is a very controversial one, as a lot of Nigerians may not understand the requisite papers that they should have. Perhaps you want to give us some education, Dr. Ibuke, on what we register as motor vehicle insurance, but what we should have really as insurance in case life happens.
I think in the entire insurance sector, there's a problem. There is not enough sensitization for Nigerians. A lot of us don't even understand what this insurance is all about. Some just get taught motor insurance to run away from the harassment of first law enforcement officers. That is why many people get it, not because they want to insure their vehicles. Comprehensive insurance has gone, has dived a little bit lower. Most of the time, it's corporate entities that do comprehensive insurance for their vehicles. Most individuals just do the third-party insurance. And doing the third-party insurance, they don't even know that it is for if you have damaged a third-party vehicle, another person's vehicle. So the insurance covers it. So most of them, when they say a third-party insurance and they have a brush or it's, an accident or something with somebody's vehicle, the person will call his motor mechanic and say, how much is this thing? Oh, okay, they'll haggle and say, okay, I will pay. Meanwhile, the insurance covers that. And a lot of times, the insurance companies are complicit. They have kept quiet while a lot of things happen. So apart from the motor insurance, also there are a lot of other insurance companies too that they do some things that are not very unethical. For example, somebody, an insurance company I'm working with, told me that I was on my own. No? They sent me email and so that their voucher for patronizing them. They said they were going to give a voucher of 120,000. When they got back to me, they said they made a mistake. It was going to be 10,000. These are the kind of things. We don't have class actions. So you go to the bank, for example, they tell you, you stay 30 minutes, 1 hour, nothing is happening until you ask. So they will just tell you offhandedly, oh, our server is down and we cannot pay you money. And these are breach of contracts that when I put my money in your bank, I need to get it. When I put my insurance, when something happens, you are supposed to pay me. But some of the insurance companies start playing hanky-panky with you. Some of the insurance companies will put brick wall on before you access anything. And that's why many Nigerians don't care a lot about insurance. So for the insurance companies themselves to wake up, they need to do a lot of. There's an association called Nigeria Insurance Association. I don't know what is happening to that entity, but they need to take it a bold step now to begin to sensitize Nigerians more on what they need to gain. And insurance companies themselves should please wake up and stop pulling the wool on our eyes. Third-party insurance is good. It's not only for to escape law enforcement agents, and also comprehensive insurance is good. But Nigerians now, they cover everything with the blood of Jesus.
Dr. Bouquet, I'm almost tempted to respond from this end here. Oh my word! So many talking points on the dailies today. I mean, there's the story around Soludo threatening to shut down markets in Anambra State. There's a story about NNPCL increasing pump price, but that's get to take a look at something really very interesting because it's a fallout of the continent's biggest football showpiece. CAF has now rolled out an official statement making some declarations, sanctioning some, making some suspensions and all of that. Let's see how we can put this up for our viewers to see, and then let's see perhaps what we can make of this, Dr. Iboke, because Morocco, the host nation, we're actually asking CAF to strip Senegal of the title. That was rejected by CAF. But take a look at the suspensions here. We see that the coach of Senegal has been suspended for 5 official CAF matches. He's also been fined $100,000 for bringing the game into dispute. Now, players Iliman Ndiaye and Ismail Assar have also been suspended for 2 official CAF matches each for supporting for unsporting behavior towards the referee. The Morocco Football Federation as well received a fine of 200, maybe I should say just $200,000 for stadium ball boys inappropriate behavior, $100,000 for improper conduct of players and staff invading, RRA $15,000 for the use of fans, lasers, totaling about $315,000. There are more suspensions, Dr. Iboke. Africa's finest player, one of the finest players and defenders, I admire him a lot, Ashraf Hakimi, captain of the Moroccan side, suspended as well for 2 official CAF matches for unsporting behavior, one of which is suspended for 1 year, and then Ismail Sabari suspended for 3 official CAF matches for unsporting behavior, and then he's also fined for $100,000. Is this justifiable, Dr. Iboke? Is this fair?
Well, CAF should watch it because CAF has shown, repeatedly that it is not an unbiased umpire. We saw the Nigeria's match against Morocco. We saw all the shenanigans that took place there. CAF did not sanction Morocco. Morocco in this competition behaved as if because they are the hosts, they must win the competition at all costs. That they must take the cup winners at all costs. And they demonstrated that. And they behaved as if they were above the law. In the pitch, off the pitch, the welfare of other team members, making Senegal travel by train, by road, mixing with other passengers, not even giving them their own buses. They have been accused of putting people in shabby hotels, shabby treatment, and they made them travel all the way from Jabba or something to come and play in the headquarters. It is unfair, and CAF just looks away, and that is the unfortunate thing about this thing. You are giving a coach 100,000 naira fine, and you are giving a whole confederation, the football federation of Morocco that could not control his own people, $200,000. You see the unfairness in it. I think Senegal should just appeal to the football arbitration, panel to see how they can obtain those this thing, because I know that CAF is not being fair. CAF should watch it. The referee that I'm surprised that the referee that did the final match did not get a rebuke or did not even get a sanction too, because you can't even officiate like that during Nigerian league. I mean, people, the goal that was disallowed for a minor push in the penalty area that was disallowed, you didn't question that, but you are questioning people who are protesting injustice. And so Africa should watch it, and they were even lucky that that walkout did not end the match. Otherwise, it would have been a very great dent on the image of African football. CAF itself should rejig, and the running of CAF has been left a clique of people who don't take African football seriously, but are there to just for their self-gratification.
Dr. Makoko, we have to leave it here. I like the fact that you say that Morocco wanted to win. I mean, some have joked about the continent's football and the fact that it looks like for every country that does host the tournament, you have to win. Côte d'Ivoire won it. And if you check down memory lane or open the history books, it's always that way, that you host and then you must win. But we must leave it here. Some also argue that maybe the Nigerian players should have perhaps put up this kind of display as we saw the Senegalese do, but let's not go there.
But my relief is that the trophy stays with Senegal in all of this. I recall that the chairman, the Sports Commission, did say here that Senegal learned from Nigeria in that activism that was displayed on the pitch that day. So I wonder
if that cup was taken from Senegal,
yeah,
then I think many countries would have boycotted the future editions of the CAF of AFCON.
Indeed.
Let's not forget the investments that the Morocco has made in football. They hosted a female tournament last year as well, which the Super Falcons won. They hosted a male. That is a lot of money, Dr. Iboke, and they're going to host the AFCON again this year. Well, let's not go there because CAF says that no other African country has showed or indicated interest in investing such monies to host this event. So I'm a bit with Morocco on this one, but let's leave it here. Dr. Iboke, Dr. Angus Iboke is the chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter. As always, thank you for your time, your insights and perspectives on the program.
Thank you very much for having me on the show this morning.
Well, this is the morning brief. We're done with the national dailies now. Up next is our very first conversation. And guess what? All eyes are right here in Makoko, Lagos, Nigeria. Why is that so? We'll tell you just why in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. It's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. And as we continue in our conversations, we're looking critically at a development that has shaped habitation, housing in Lagos in the past couple of months. We've seen demolitions, and the government has defended some of the demolitions, as a breach of environmental and town planning laws. And the latest, besides that of Shoki that we've seen, has been the Makoko demolitions, and we've seen the protesters, some of whom are residents of Makoko and I believe Oworo. They took to the government headquarters in Lagos yesterday protesting, and there were reports that some were dispersed with tear gas. So let's get to have this conversation, talk to some of the people affected, and of course members of the civil society, as we seek perhaps an enduring solution to the challenge of accommodation for residents in these areas subsequently. And so joining us on this particular one this morning, we have Jude Ojo, community leader, Otumara. All right, we'll have Jude Ojo join us shortly, but we also have Yemi Adamolekun, board member, EIE Nigeria, who joins us virtually this morning. Mr. Adamolekun, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me. Morning.
Good morning. And so we've had the government, defend some of these demolitions as aiming to protect lives and property and address security concerns. Of course, in Oworo and in Makoko, we've heard that there's supposed to be a distance from a particular setback, a measured setback from the ocean and the bridge. But the manner of the demolitions comes into focus again, and the treatment of the protesters. How do we get the message, across to government about better management of these demolitions?
Thank you. I'm not quite sure that they don't understand. It would seem to me, or to most of us who are advocating for those in the community, that it's just a choice. It's a choice that this is what we want to do, and we're going to do it because we think we can get away with it. As you rightly said, the recent one with Makoko is not the first. This has been going on over the last decade, perhaps. And in most recent time, it's been going on since, I believe, October. So it's really just impunity, and to put it very mildly, that we can't do this and we're going to get away with it. And so the excuses that have been given, for example, setback, first it was 30 meters, then it was 50. Then the community said, you know what, we'll give you 100. And as they said, they actually put flags there so that this will mark where you say you need, and then you can take off everything else. And they were prepared for that. But it's interesting that the flags reminds me of what happened with NSAS 5 years ago, when protesters thought that by waving the national flag, that they were safe. They sat down, waved the flag, and they were killed. So the same thing with Lagos and saying that it's 30 meters, then 50, then 100. Look, let's be very honest with ourselves. Waterfront property anywhere in the world has commercial value, and significant commercial value if you're able to get more people to live there who can pay premium. Then they can pay more taxes to the government gets more money. I get it. I get urban renewal, I get gentrification, I get all of that. But the simple request that is being made is that you can't take land away from people who this is their home. This is for those who fish, this is their means of livelihood, and they've lived there for decades, 3, 4 generations. And the way you are moving them is just by destroying their property. And then Governor Sanwo-Olu says he's going to give palliatives and grants. I'm sorry, my understanding of a palliative is a temporary measure that you're using to until a permanent solution is found. So destroying the homes in Makoko is not something that suddenly happened. It's not that fire suddenly happened, or I don't know what else, like a natural disaster, so that you didn't plan for it. So you then have to give palliatives and a stopgap measure until a plan is made. We've been trying to destroy Makoko for a decade. You can't tell me that what is due to the people who live there are palliatives. They are due compensation for the land that you're taking them from, and to ensure that what you're compensating them is enough for them to get somewhere else to live. Either you're providing that somewhere else for them to live, or what you give them allows them to get somewhere else. I mean, look at the images that you're showing. What is that? And then when we say that it's also causing death, or that Lagos state government is responsible for deaths of citizens, The commissioner of police yesterday got very agitated because he was being accused of having blood on his hands. But they do. You can't destroy homes without warning people. You can't come and destroy homes where people are sleeping and there are documented people who have died. Not only have they died from the demolition, but they've also died from the consequences therein. Health issues. There was a lady that was in a canal, was in childbirth, and they were begging the Caterpillar guy to just move so the canal can pass and she can get health care. The Caterpillar refused to move and the lady died. So if you then get accused of being responsible, of being called, for the protesters, being called murderers or being responsible for killing Lagosians, you can't get sensitive to that. You cannot kill someone, as they say, you cannot beat a child and then tell the child in what manner the child should cry.
I mean, so let's stay with these protests and demonstrations, because we hear that the police fired tear gas on protesters yesterday. In fact, I saw a video, shout out to Danny Boy, who put up that video yesterday. We saw videos of the police indeed firing tear gas. So I'm not sure if you were there, but if you were, walk us through exactly what played out, because I'm wondering why exactly has security agencies and authorities become really very afraid of peaceful demonstrations?
As my mom would say, the guilty are always afraid. So they'll always be afraid for citizens to exercise their voice, for citizens to speak up and demand that they're treated better. So the protest was to the State House of Assembly, which is a body of elected representatives. Now, a few of them came out to address the crowd, and the crowd was like, look, we're on the road. You designed the House of Assembly to have a place where citizens can be addressed. There's an amphitheater in there. We want to come in so all of us can be addressed and we can be seated. They said no, that because they can't guarantee what would happen, anything can happen, destruction, so they wanted representatives. And the protesters said no, that we're all elected, we're all citizens, and we don't want to send people. So the House of Rep members got upset and walked away. And so Taiwo Hassan, aka Soweto, then told, and this one I saw, and so when the Commissioner of Police uses language like riotous, disruptive, they were about to break into the State House of Assembly, without mincing words, he is not telling the truth. I was there and I challenged him himself, so he can say that I told him that to his face, that he's not telling the truth. What Taiwo Hassan politely said very calmly and said that, well, since we elected them and they don't want us to come inside, we're going to sit down. We're going to share water and share gala so people can be refreshed, and we'll see how it goes. It was literally shortly after that that they started firing tear gas. Even people hadn't even gotten to the point of sitting down. I mean, some were already seated. But to respond to Taiwo's call, people hadn't even gotten to that point. Now, the Commissioner of Police also says that we're about to block the road. Again, he is not telling the truth. When I arrived at the protest ground yesterday afternoon, I joined it a bit late. As I came in through the ShopRite entrance, they had blocked the lane closest to the House of Assembly coming from ShopRite. So that lane had no cars, already was close to traffic. So for the Commissioner of Police to say that by sitting down on the road, they will be stopping the flow of traffic again is not true. On that access, there were two lanes, so only one lane was open for traffic. So the lane where people were going to sit had already been blocked by the police from the ShopRite end. So to then make claim that it was the citizens that was going to block it was not true. And then again, might I add, if citizens come to protest to you, you refuse to let them in, are you expecting them to stand? And ad infinitum. Sitting is the easiest way to have a crowd and manage a crowd, because then there's no movement. People are not, you're afraid of people barging in to the House of Assembly. I'm sorry, if I'm seated, it'll be kind of hard for me to barge in anywhere.
Very, very worrying, and we gather that some may have sustained injuries. We're going to get a sense of, the number of those who sustained injuries, and just one person, according to reports, and how well they're doing.
Well, the impact of
yeah, certainly.
Can I speak to that?
Okay, go ahead and speak to that as we prepare for our next line of questioning.
As far as I know, and the images that I've seen, there are at least two people where you can sustained injuries that require them being taken to a hospital. Then you have two people, well, about, I think 5 or 6 people that are arrested. 4 of them have been released. 2 of them are still in the custody of police, of which I actually also asked the commissioner on the grounds of the protest, because they were arresting 2 people before me. And he said, in fairness to him, he said because of my recognizance that he knows me, that the 2 of them, he would release them. And I asked him directly, do you have anyone else? And he said no. Then we found out later that they had 6 people. And then, as I said, 2 people in the hospital. But you can't count people who are injured just if they have physical injuries and needed hospitalization. I was there, tear gas in my face, tear gas in my throat. Other people had that, would cough somebody. I mean, quite a number of people talked about their chest still paining them. I mean, not hospital worthy in that sense, but that doesn't mean they didn't suffer injuries. By the time we were leaving, people's shoes, people's wrappers, people who were selling food, that's somebody's source of income that would got damaged, that was there. I was picking up people's shoes and people's wrappers to just put them in a pile to get them to them. The police said they were evidence, so that I shouldn't touch them. So just to add that. And the last point, just in case I don't get to come back, I need to make this point. The State House of Assembly, where we protested too, has 40 members who have decided that they want to spend taxpayers' money to buy houses for themselves in Abuja. So let's be clear. It's not that Lagos doesn't have money to settle or compensate. It's Lagos, as I started from the beginning, is choosing how it spends that money, and it's choosing not to spend it on the poor.
Well, fair point there, and we should be interrogating that more often. But let's now, talk to some of those affected, and Mr. Jude joins us now on the program eventually. Thank you so much for coming on the program, sir. I want you to give us, from your perspective, what transpired yesterday at the protest.
Yesterday was a day that I will never forget in my life. Firstly, as an evictee from Utumara community, and a member of SDI, Slum Dweller International, we decided to approach governments in another way, whereby probably we could get attention for how our rights have been violated. So we now decide, okay, what are we going to do? We've written letters, we've carried out some protests in the past. It's as if nobody's attending to us. We've been having promises upon promises. Don't worry, the demolition is going to stop. They did it in Otodogbame. They have moved to Ilubiri. They came to Tumara community last year, and they have moved on to Iworoshoki, Makoko, and most of the excuses given were just nothing to write home about. They will say they are trying to clear people away from the power line. There is no power line in Utumara for crying out loud. There's no power line in Precious Seed, part of Iworoshoki, for crying out loud. So there are a lot of excuses, but what are we going to do? We are not going to resort to violence. We will continue to follow legitimate moves to seek redress. So we decided to go on protest yesterday. The protest started very well from under bridge, Ikeja, down through Awolowo Road to Assembly Gate. And there, they came to us that, look, they have listened to us. They want to hear us. Okay, if you want to hear us, no problem. That is the more reason why we are here. Can we move into the complex, at least the field there, if you cannot have us in the office? These are the people that comes to meet us during election, go to the places they are calling slum, they are calling shanties, they are calling all kind of names now. But now for us to come and meet you, you are saying you are not feeling comfortable. Why are you not comfortable? We are not carrying guns. We are not carrying sticks. We are harmless. You can see us. And your policemen are around. Why are you afraid? They say, no, okay, if you are not going to attend to us, if you don't allow us to come in, let's sit down here until you are ready to give us attention. The next thing we experienced was gunshots, tear gas.
So there were gunshots yesterday?
Yeah, a guy was shot in the leg. That guy was rushed to hospital. I didn't know his name. Yeah, probably you will see it on camera. The guy was shot on the leg. And tear gas. I was tear gassed. And everybody started running skater, trying to look for escape routes. Are these the people we voted for? Is it democracy is it the democracy we all yearn for? So it was a very big disappointment on the part of our government yesterday. So
there was no official that came to address the protesters at the beginning or after the dispersal of the protesters? After about 3 hours or so, some of the assembly members came out and we said, well, you have come. This is our plight. They said they will discuss with us, they are addressing it. Let's sit down. We want to dialogue with you. We want to hear from you. There is an open field. When you get to the Alausa shopping assembly complex, there is an open field.
we have come to meet with you. You don't have to start entertaining us, hearing our question and answers on the main road. Let's go into this open speed. They say no, that they are scared. They can't allow us into that complex. So people felt, what kind of insult? We are supposed to be representing our interest. But now you cannot allow us to come into the open field in the complex. Okay, let people sit down here. When you are ready to attend to us, we will also talk with you. The next thing, they left, not up to 3-5 minutes they left, the police started shooting tear gas. And the guy was shot in the leg. And people started running for their life.
The Commissioner of Police, Laurent Dare Jimo, has he put out a statement. He's said that, well, you protesters were a bit confrontational. And that's the argument he's putting up, that you tried to be a bit physical, and that's why he responded. But my question is, because of how controversial Makoko is, what do you think the interests of the government, and I mean successive government, because these demolitions didn't start today, historically, since 2005. So what exactly is the interest? I remember the Babatunde Fashola's administration as well. There were demolitions carried out along the line. You know, it went back to how things were. So what exactly is the interest of government in Makoko from your standpoint?
All right. You see, when people are driven by greed, it will be very difficult for you to say this is what they actually wanted. There are slums all over the world. It's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. And if you must make life worth a living for people, you would need to put some things in place that will make wherever they are conducive for living. Now, Makoko, you say some areas are close to power line. You want them to move back certain meters. Your guidelines, your regulation in the town planning say 30 meters setback. Now you are asking for 100 meters. People agree with you that they will give that 100 meters. At the end of the day, you are telling to about 200, going to 500 meters setback. That is number one. Number two...
Can you confirm that it has extended to 500 meters? The demolitions have continued beyond that point.
It has gone beyond that point.
Okay, go ahead. And
another thing is that, look, these are the areas you said they are not conducive for living. And we can see adverts all over the places, how much you are going to sell plot of land in this choice area, giving all kind of juicy advertisement on social media and the rest. So you cannot claim that you want to collect these areas because they are not well taken care of, or you want to put people in a good condition, and you are taking it from the poor, giving it to the rich, because the amount of money they are now calling on these adverts run to hundreds of millions. So for me to say what is their aim of doing this is more or less like saying they are grabbing people's property, people's land, come under all different kind of these guys, slum, shanties, setback regulations, and all that, hoodlums, criminals, hideout, on all kind of, but you discover that all these things are not true. Because they are even the one coming to all these communities with hoodlums. I remember when they came to Tumara. I remember the record we are hearing from Makoko as well, the one from Bariga as well. So they are the one parading touts to go and dislodge people forcefully.
These are really very weighty allegations you're making, and we'll see how we can get some sort of evidence. But let's take the conversation to Mr. Demoloku. I'm sure you're listening to the conversation because I'm wondering exactly why there is interest in Makoko. 1/3 of that community is on water. Some have described that area as the Venice of Africa. And it reminds me of the book, The Merchant of Venice, by the legendary William Shakespeare. So the potentialities are there for tourist attractions, and just how commercially viable that area could be. But from the standpoint where you sit, do you agree with this submission? What exactly do you think is the interest of the Lagos State government in Makoko?
But that's what I opened with when you asked me the question. I said that I get the fact that it's commercial real estate, that it has premium value if it's not houses on wood, houses made out of wood on water. And as you also rightly said, there's nothing wrong with cities that are on water. Venice is built on water, as are several other cities around the world. Down the road in Benin Republic, There's a community that's on water that's a tourist attraction. I visited it many years ago. So the economic value of being able to build high-rise, as I said earlier, is not contested. And it's not, and the beginning, and it has started. There's already reclaiming land that's going on off. If you stand on 3rd Mainland Bridge, you can see it by the side. There's a video, since you guys don't seem to know, I'm happy to share this with you after the conversation, of the developers talking about it. Talking about, there was a Bale from Makoko who was there with them, who was talking about the fact that they've settled the Bale, but it's the community members that choose not to follow along. Meanwhile, an organization like JAI that works in the community did a poll. And even though maybe 2 or 3 ballots, I don't know what commercial agreement they entered into, the community overwhelmingly voted against selling their land for that. Again, because nobody probably told them what they would get out of it. So if we do sell your land and we move you, you're going to get X, you're going to move to Y, you're going to blah, 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 blah. Not just demolish our property. Let's not forget, Surulere and Oudunere are both resettlement communities from Lagos Island. So there's a history in Lagos of moving and resettling people. So as I said at the beginning, gentrification, urban renewal, urban improvement, all the nice fancy words, it happens, I get it. But all we're saying, and Mr. Jude has also repeated, is you can't ask people to move or want to take over their land and choose to kill them, displace them, harm them in the process. But let me say this before we move on. For a lot of people, what happened to the gentleman seemed like a gunshot wound. But I will say this, that all that I'm aware of that happened yesterday was tear gas. Now, I think for some of the journalists complained that it was shot so close to people standing that someone might have been injured by a canister that then felt like a gunshot wound. And I'll put that on record.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Jude did say here that they heard gunshots and someone was in fact shot in the leg.
Yeah, I heard him. That's why I was correcting that, because it could, tear gas popping off can sound like a gunshot. And then when you see someone's leg that's bleeding and has a wound, you could think it was. Yeah, so, and that just to your point about that no one was injured, which again was not true.
Yeah, and that speaks
I did mention that at least one person.
That only one person was injured, and I'm saying that that's not true.
Yeah. All right. That speaks to the management of protests, which is another kettle of fish entirely. But let's now talk about compensation and the number of displaced. And I'm bringing that to you now, Mr. Jude, in the studio. What conversations, because there were reports, particularly from the government, that notices were issued prior to the commencement of demolition in Makoko, from the time that, there were measures about 30 meters setback, 50 meters setback, then a 100 meters setback. What conversations were had between the Lagos State government officials and leaders of your community on compensation for those who would be affected in this demolition? And what numbers are you counting of those who have been displaced so far?
All right, let me just put it this way. When they say compensation, compensation could come in so many forms. We don't just want compensation. First, we want resettlement. But let me mention the number of people displaced so far. In Otumara community in 2000 and between 7th of March to 10th of March, about 13,000 people were evicted from that community. In Oto, on May 22nd of May 2025, about 2,000. Oworoshoki waterfront, where you have Precious Seed, you have Akerele Estate, you have Musafejo Estate. By November, between November to December, about 13,000 people were evicted. At Ago Egun, Bariga, January 24th, about 1,000 people were also evicted. Makoko, Okoagbon, Sogoro, between December 25 and January 2026, about 30,000 people were evicted. When you are asking people to move away, that's a responsible government. Asking people to move away from their places of abode for a place like Otumara has been in existence for about 105 years. You are asking them to move away. Move away to where? To under the bridge, to the streets, to where?
So in asking the residents to move away, There was no provision of alternative.
No alternative provisions.
So at that level, what conversations were they having with your leaders about compensation after having moved away?
All right. We started with regeneration, upgrading and development in Otumara with Lasura under Lagos State. But we were surprised for Lascar to come into the community by 11th of February to come and say people should vacate the community. How come? We're already having discussion with the government on regeneration, upgrading, and development. We are not against development. Makoko people are not against development. Oworoshoki people are not against development. Otodubame people, they are not against development. Besides that, there are standing court judgments that, look, before you can disperse, evict, demolish these communities, you must put this and this and this in place. I have a copy of the judgment with me here. All these things are neglected, are brushed aside, and they went ahead and commit this atrocity against humanity. This is not what you expected under democracy. The copy of judgments that stipulate that people should be given fair hearing is here with us. And for government to know, apart from the fact that they have been served, they have it. We pasted these things in some of these communities that were eventually demolished and people were forcefully evacuated. Evicted.
So there's been no offer of compensation from the Sanwo-Olu government?
No offer of compensation. Only for them to be using some little, they will call some people aside. You are giving 5,000, you are giving some stipend to some people. There is no concrete agreement that, look, this is what we are going to do, and this is where you are going to be. If you give me 5 million naira now, as somebody who lives in Ebutemeta, well, 5 million naira will take 2-bedroom flat for 1 year. So after 1 year, what happens to me and my family? As we speak now, most families are separated. Wives are living apart from where the husbands are. Children are living with cousins, nephew, brothers, and sisters. You can't give vivid account of your family by being in Nigeria because you are poor. That shouldn't be.
All right. We must anchor at this point, but we're staying, in the next bit of the program with Makoko demolition, looking at it from a journalist's perspective. And, this is a reminder of the lack of humanity that has shaped the continuing demolitions in the slum communities of Makoko and Yanowuru. Mr. Jude Ojo, we do, empathize with you on this one, and we hope for an enduring solution subsequently to this. Mr. Jude Ojo is a community leader Otumara, and we've also had Ms. Yemi Adamoleku, board member EIE Nigeria, who has joined us on this one. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, of course, we'll be talking with a journalist about the ongoing Makoko demolition. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. This is the Morning Brief. We are live from our global headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. Our focus this hour is the demolitions in Makoko and the possible implications for dwellers, for the government, and guess what? For journalists who also get to cover these stories and get to risk our lives. Just to tell you and bring you up to speed what exactly is happening. Now, we're joined this hour by Bukola Adebayo, she's a correspondent, Thompson Reuters Foundation, who joins us live on the program. Thank you indeed for joining us on the program. Bukola Adebayo. Bukola. Yeah, nice. All right. So you have been following this story. For starters, I wasn't on the field yesterday, but I could tell from the videos I saw from a colleague from my, who shared that video on his Instagram page. I could see the tear gas, and I would just putting myself in that situation, in his shoes, because we have inhaled tear gas, we've inhaled pepper spray, we've been sort of bitten on this job as well. what exactly have you been seeing as regards these demolitions?
Well, I have been following and covering demolitions in Lagos specifically, starting from 2016 when Otodogbame was demolished. And people were forced out, and how that led to thousands of families being displaced, separated. People, families, father is hanging out somewhere, mother is hanging out somewhere. And in fact, a day before they set fire on Otodogbame, I was there to speak to the Baale because they were in consultation with the government at the time. And while this was going on, they set fire on the community and people literally left that community with the clothes on their back. And because a lot of the people living in Otodogbame at the time are immigrants from West Africa who have lived in Nigeria for decades, I mean more than 6 decades. When this happened, a lot of them relocated to Makoko because, of course, you are going to leave. When you lose your home, you lose your work, you lose your livelihood, you are going to go to another community where you can at least find work and shelter and family or relatives or culture that sort of embraces you. So a lot of them left to Makoko. And you can imagine in December, they reached out to me and said, we came to Makoko for shelter and refuge. We are being displaced and our homes and businesses are being demolished again. And I went to Makoko 2 weeks ago, and I've been there almost like every week. And what I see is so devastating. The day I went, there were schools that were demolished. There were children living in canoes. They couldn't go to school. School was in water, and they were just, a lot of their parents were concerned. Yes, we've lost our homes. Yes, we've lost our business. Yes, we've lost our canoes. Canoes were demolished. Canoes were burnt. But schools where our children could at least aspire for some education, bring themselves out of poverty, have now been destroyed. Who is going to put those schools together? How are these children going to have a bit of future? And that is what I saw. Again, Nigeria has one of the highest number of out-of-school children. The demolition in Makoko is also going to contribute to that number because these children are not in school. They are going to be hanging around the city. They are going to be subject to abuse. No one is going to be catering for them because their parents are disoriented. And this is another problem that the Lagos city as itself is going to have to fix. And what I am saying is, in demolitions, in forced evictions, there are global standards to how demolitions and evictions are carried out. Do we follow that so that the fallout does not come on children, and we have to come back to solve the problem that we're trying to avoid in the first place? And so you've sort of segued right into the next destination of my line of questioning, because resettlement is commonplace the world over. It's the management of it that matters. And so how should we begin to manage the phasing out of slum dwelling for whatever environmental concerns, or maybe there are ultimately commercial real estate objectives involved with the management of people's lives in a more humane manner?
I think, and with all due respect to the Lagos State government, they more than anybody else understand how to carry out demolitions. Auntie Yemi Ademolako has alluded to that. A lot of agencies have been working with the government at different times on how the best practices on evicting or resettling. And I'm careful to say resettling because is that even the plan of the government? Is the plan of the government to actually resettle people in these displaced and slum communities? I don't think so. Because we know that in the global standard for demolition is good notice. The notice is to allow consultation. The consultation process includes resettlement, meaning you resettle them in a land that they can call their own, that they will not be disturbed by Omonile. They will not be disturbed by people in the survey or lands unit saying, oh, even though you've lived in a country for 80 years, you are still, a lot of people
people in Makoko told me that they've made attempts to even buy land in Lagos and build together. And they've been told they cannot buy land because they are telling them they are not Nigerians. People before our own parents, they've been living in these communities, they are still being told that they are not Nigerians. So there are many bottlenecks. And when you want to do that, where the government with the humane face will come in is to resettle them, give them a land that has their documentation and identity, then compensation. 3 things: adequate notice, resettlement, compensation. One does not come before the other. You don't compensate without resettling. Like Mr. Jude said, if you give me 5 million naira for my land, the cost of rent in Lagos is going to suck that up within 2 years. And what happens again? They are displaced. So a lot of the people affected in the Makoko demolitions are people from neighboring slum communities, and not just slum communities, neighboring communities that they've come to Makoko because they've been chased like animals from place to place over 10 years. It's devastating. And again, they have to pick up again.
Well, in all fairness to the Lagos state government, the movement of people from other parts of Nigeria to these states, I can imagine there should be a lot of pressure. As it stands, according to well unconfirmed data, I think we're looking at between 20 to 25 million people and counting on a daily basis. If you start by the Lagos Express, where you see trucks, you see vehicular movements of Nigerians, coming into Lagos on a daily basis. So I can imagine perhaps there should be a lot of pressure on the state government. But having said that, staying with the issue around resettlement and compensation, because one of the guests, Jude Ojo, mentioned issues around compensation, the fact that a few persons are called around and say, come. And I'm going to be very direct here, because Omoniles and Bales have been accused over the years of compromise. In your coverage, is that what you have seen? The fact that it looks like the state government is making plans genuinely or sincerely to compensate the people, and they cannot do that directly with the people. They have to go through the leadership of that community or area. But there are allegations of compromise.
I don't want to speak to speculation at all. I'm a journalist, so until I have
the facts,
the evidence of whether either of the parties are saying, that's when we can see it and say we are going to comment. I will comment on that. But what is simple is there is no way the government can say they cannot interact directly with the community and have a protocol of compensation, a protocol of resettlement. That is unacceptable. That is not governance. You should have a way. I have attended several town halls in this Lagos. I've attended town halls in Surulere when we had power challenges, and a lawmaker at the time, the person representing Surulere, came to those meetings. There were dozens of people in those town hall meetings. The government cannot say that the only way to interact with the people that they govern and lead at the state, at the local level, is only through the balance. There are means of mediation. There are there's a way, there are representations. These are things that they've done, that's been done in the past. Auntie Yemi said Surulere and some other settlements came to be as a result of resettlement. You are not going to say you don't have a way to gather the data of people living in Makoko. That in itself is a problem. If government or any agency says that they don't have a way to interact directly, hence that is why they are going through some actors that are exploiting the situation, is unacceptable. Right. The government is the father and the overseer of this state, and they know the means to reach the people.
Well, we have to anchor our conversation at this time, but I imagine perhaps what the state of your mental health and that of many journalists like ourselves who cover such sad and tragic stories on a daily basis. I wonder what I think sometimes we need a therapist. We need to
definitely.
Absolutely, because covering some of these stories, you see you see humans in very, very terrible conditions, very dire conditions, and sometimes I just wish that I had a different job, but let's leave it here. Bukola Adebayo is correspondent, Thomson Reuters Foundation. Thank you indeed for your time on the program. All right, this is the morning brief. We are not done with you just yet. When we come back, we take you to Osun State as we pay attention to the Osun State local government crisis. Tinubu call Oyetola to order. Those are the exact words of the Osun State's Governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke. We'll get analysis, perspectives, and insights in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. And so we exit the conversation on Makoko demolitions to another more critical that also affects some Nigerians, especially at the grassroots, this time in Osun State. Now, for a quick background, the Osun local government administration row between the now Accord Party-led government and the former APC government has been mired in litigation. And, you know, we recall the local government elections that was conducted in 2022 that saw court judgments sacking them, and then another court of appeal judgment that has been given different interpretations by both parties in the matter. And, you know, they're still in court. And speaking of which, the current Court of Appeal proceeding yesterday, according to the Accord Party-led government, was stalled because of the absence of legal representation from the APC. Let's have this conversation now and get further insight about what is currently happening and, of course, possibly how this can be resolved. We have joining us now on the program Mr. Kolakbo Alimi, the Commissioner for Information in Osun State, who has joined us on this program. Now, so many accusations are flying around, but I recall in the state broadcast of the Osun State governor, he did, accuse his predecessor of using, a bank to illegally get payment of the funds of the local government administration. But let's begin with we'll get to that later on. But let's begin with the court hearing from yesterday that was stalled as a result of the absence of the APC representation. Talk to us about the high points of that before we proceed.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. You know, all these shenanigans is quite avoidable and unnecessary. But because we have some people who are not statesmen, who be in the politics of being honest, and today, we told them that the election conducted is unconstitutional, is illegal. The court nullified it. 2 judgments from the Federal High Court. They went to the Court of Appeal. They are now twisting the judgment. Okay, before the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, they agree that assuming they have a tenure, their tenure will come to an end by October last year, 2025. Now, when October was approaching, they quickly rushed to the Federal High Court. They filed another suit seeking for tenure elongation. They call it tenure determination. This is strange. You didn't have any tenure in the first instance. You are only using federal rights to countermand the authority of those that are supposed to be there. And with the help of the police and with the aid of the CBN sending money to wrong accounts. And so when that purported tenure ended, you are supposed to leave our secretariat at least for peace. They said no. So that case they filed. You know what they did? Having filed the case, in the court process, when you are plaintiff for your defendant and you approach the court, immediately you file the case, the law presume under the principle of fair hearing that the defendant or the respondent you are suing it's not an angel to know that you have filed a case. Before the court will assume judicial and knows that defendants are aware of the case, the defendant must be served. And the agents of the court to serve such a processes, they are known as a bailiff. So you have to mobilize the bailiff to go and serve. So what they did in their own case was that having filed the matter, they said they have filed the matter, but they didn't serve anybody. So we heard about the matter and we went to the court, we saw it and served all the parties. That was when the court now gave the dates to the case since September, and the court gave January 28th. So unfortunately, yesterday when the case was to come for hearing, and when we got to court, none of their lawyers came to court. They said they have other cases, and they listed 10 cases, out of which 3 are senior advocate of Nigeria. And that is the case they are using. They say because they have filed the case, they have to be there until the case is determined. And so when the case is to be heard, they run away. So the summary of what happened yesterday, it only indicates to the whole world that these people are only doing brigading in our local government. For the purpose of record, to bring back to the memory of our viewers at home, they are claiming the court reinstated them. That is their claim. We are saying no. This judgment is written in black and white. Show us where you are reinstated. But let us now look at those that are umpires that are not biased and they do not have anything to do with it. The Nigerian Bar Association has set up a committee on this issue, and they came up with a resolution that the chairman elected in 2022 under the leadership of Alhaji Isiaka Igboejola had to vacate because the court had nullified their election. Non-covered the electoral act. They didn't yield to that advice. Now let us now go to Supreme Court. You know, the state approached the Supreme Court recently, and we invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court between the state and the Attorney General of the Federation. For us, for the Supreme Court to help us interpret all the judgments. When we got there, the Attorney General of the Federation, instead of allowing the Supreme Court to interpret the judgment, raised objection that the state lacked and local state case. How the citizens of the Supreme Court, 6 of them agree with the that the local authorities of government that the state lacks judicial. However, and so those 6 justices, they didn't go to the merit of the case. They stopped at the preliminary objection. However, one justice of the Supreme Court dismissed the objection of the Federation and went straight to the merit of the case. Now, I will forward it to you, sir, and so that all over the world will see what you are talking about. You will see the opinions of my Lord Justice Angie. It's not a binding judgment. Let me see, because I'm a lawyer. But the opinion, because others don't make any opinion. Now, what I'm saying in essence is that that opinion shows to the whole world. My Lord Justice Angie said, those elected under the APC administration.
Mr. Alimi, pardon me if I may come in there. We're having difficulty hearing you, and you were talking about a very critical part of the determination of the legal matter between both parties, which is you approaching the Supreme Court. I'd really like to know how recently the Accord Party-led government approached the Supreme Court, particularly because the APC, side to this matter is saying that your mistake was that you didn't appeal the Court of Appeal judgment on the local government administration dispute at the level of the Supreme Court. So we would like to see clarification on what your prayers were before the Supreme Court and why the Attorney General, objected, saying that the government lacked the locus standi. Would like clarity on that before we move to the next part of the interview. But we hope that the audio will be better this time around as you provide us with those clarifications.
I wouldn't know whether you are hearing me now. Can you let me know whether you are hearing me?
Yeah.
Can you let me know whether you are hearing me?
Yeah, it's okay temporarily for now.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, they are being mischievous. They are the one we approach the federal court. All their federal court nullified the election. All their efforts to get the judgment set aside by the Court of Appeal failed. So what are we going to do at the Supreme Court? We are the one. We won at the Court of Appeal. The one they are claiming February 10 that they won was struck out on technical ground. There's another one they approached the court. No, because there are two cases. There's another one they approached the court. They lost on two cases. And so this judgment that the MPA, I know to the Nigerian Bar Association, that is the umbrella of all lawyers. The Nigerian Bar Association has refused all judgments. Ask them, what's the position of FBA? Now, I told you that recently, it was in October, around October, that we approached the Supreme Court. I was only approached the Supreme Court. They were the one who raised objection. They didn't allow the Supreme Court to interpret the judgment. I agree. The majority judgment struck out our case on the ground that the local government be a third tier. It is the local government that should fight for their rights. But because we claim in the public interest, just as it happened in the case of local government autonomy, there was a minority judgment, the opinion, minority opinion, delivered out of 7 justices. 6 said they struck out the case of criminal objection. But 1 justice of the Supreme Court, and I think it's only mere opinion. But however, that opinion is in conformity with what we are saying, and it's in conformity with what NDA say that these people that are misinterpreting the judgment, they do not have anything to do in our local government. And so it is not as if they don't know what they are doing is wrong. And now taking that one, let me give you another instance. What happened in the court yesterday, that is a clear indication. Second one is that if it is local government autonomy that they are saying, and upon which they are now diverting our money to private accounts in the UBA, throughout the ask them again whether there is any state where the local government autonomy judgment is being implemented. They know if they don't divert our allocation to private accounts in the UBA, and the money is being paid to the joint accounts, and it is being paid in other countries of the federation, all the shenanigans will not be possible. You understand it? So in order to continue to perpetrate their shenanigans at the local government, that is why they are paying also allocation to the private account opened by the APC chairman at the UBA.
All right. Let's see how we can squeeze in more questions for you. And just to put this out there, that we made efforts to also bring in the Osun State APC legal advisor so we could perhaps have a balanced conversation. But he's yet to join us. But the reaction from the camp of the APC supporters who have reacted on social media to this development of the change in the head of the commission, precisely in, I think it's Borikpe, is that this decision to have that change is a part of the ploy of your administration to force control of the affected council areas out of grip of political office holders currently running them. And then it also appears that perhaps no reasons have been given to perhaps justify why that particular change in Borikpe local government area.
Well, it is part of their own mission. As it is today, not only in Osun State and throughout the country, the senior officers at the local government, they are employed, control, promote, and everything about their service is under the local government service commission. Are you getting my point? All the HLAs in all our 30 local government, all directors, all of them are in various local government by posting. And so during the December, some HLA, head of local government administration, retired. And in Osun, we have 30 mother council, and we have about another 29 SCDA, local government and development administration. And so the practice is that when HLA, senior HLAs in the border council retires, the commission will move people from the SCDA, those are HLA from the SCDA, by promotion to the council. And then later on, they will now promote some directors to become the HLA in those SCDA. And that is the practice. It is not only in Osun. And local government service commission is a creation of constitution and law. So what I'm saying is quite unfortunate. It is because of they are practicing their brigading. They do not have control of any HLE. They should take note of that one, as it is now, even up to this moment.
All right, for someone who is really very close to the governor, Mr. Commissioner, I wonder perhaps if you think that maybe if you had defected to the All Progressives Congress, maybe all of these battles would have been ended.
Well, let me just comment on that election. That the issue of the defection came up because some stakeholders in the state approached the governor so as to assist the president during the electioneering campaign, during the coming up 2027 election. You will recall that our president Bola Ahmed Tinubu lost Osun State during the last election. They don't want a repeat of that one. And when it is apparent that the governor will just return to perhaps great respect to Governor Fubara or another puppet, the governor rejects the APC. And we are sure that due to the poor performance of Alhaji Boyega Oyetola, Alhaji Boyega Oyetola was the immediate past governor. And APC will have given him the right of first refusal, and if he wanted to protest. But he has performed woefully, that there's no way he could come to the state for anything. So,
one in power. But let's bring in the Osun State APC legal advisor who has joined us now, Barrister Adegoke Ogushola, who joins us live on the program as well, and see how we can get his reaction to some of your submissions. Mr. Gbenga Adegoke, rather, thank you indeed for eventually joining. So, listening to Mr. Commissioner now, I wonder what exactly your reactions are, because the APC too has been blamed for some would describe it as self-inflicted crisis. I think you may have to unmute your mic, Barrister Adegoke.
Okay. All right, let's take you back to Mr. Alimi. And one of the things that the APC is saying is that it is not quite true that what is the matter before the Court of Appeal is tenure elongation, but rather to determine tenure and to also determine the matter of the legality of the local government administration administrators as elected by the Oyetola government in 2022. How do you react to that?
Well, whatever nomenclature they call it, that is not our own problem. It's for the court to determine. But our problem is that we know they filed the case primarily so as to continue the and look at what happened at the court yesterday. They are the plaintiff and they didn't come to the court. You can just imagine. That is one. The second one is that having filed the case, they're supposed to wait for the outcome of the case, of the matter. They're supposed to vacate the council and then wait. So let me put it to you, sir. If somebody has filed a case and is praying for either tenure determination or tenure elongation and is already enjoying it, it makes the prosecution of case superfluous. It makes the prosecution of the case mere academic. He will not go back to the court again to prosecute the case. That's why if truly they are serious, they will forget the case, will move for the expedite action of the case in court. If the court says they have right to be there, so be it. But a situation whereby they file a case, they abandon the case at the court, and they are telling the whole world that because they file a case, they want to remain in our local government. Does that mean they want to remain in our local government perpetually? That is not part of our tenure of filing a case. So they know what they are doing. They were not in court yet. They are in for deliberate. They have 10 lawyers. They listed 10 lawyers. And they said they will not get this kind of case. It is quite unfortunate.
All right. Governor Adeleke also says that since February 2025, statutory allocations to Osun State local governments have been withheld, and they are amounting to about 130 billion naira by the federal government. Help us understand the status of the funds currently. Do you have evidence to that effect that they are being controlled through bank accounts that have been opened with another bank?
Yes, they open accounts at the UBA, and in collaboration, that's what we call federal might. They are the one in control of the CBN. They are the one in control of the office of the Accountant General of the Federation. As a collaboration, instead of paying the money to the office to be signatories, do that, right? To pay the money to
oh dear, we've been having very serious difficulty with the internet connection through to Mr. Kolakbo Alimi. But we will stay with this story and secure another opportunity to get, the perspective of the APC in Osun State in subsequent programming. It was sad that we're unable to get the legal advisor of the All Progressives Congress in Osun State, Mr. Ogushola, to join. We'll try to get him back so that we can capture their own side to this particular dispute. But we must anchor at this point. Kelly.
Yes, I mean, I was just going to say that beyond the political posturing, the big question is perhaps who exactly or truly is suffering at the loose end of this crisis, the people. I mean, I'm wondering just when will in Nigeria, just when will governance, be priority instead of politics, instead of party supremacy and all of that. I think that Mr. President will have to wade into this matter, because the same way he has been wading into the back and forth in Rivers State, he has to do same here. I know there's some sort of interest. I mean, we know.
Speaking of which, the Osun State governor did say that the state has been providing intervention for the payment of salaries of affected local government workers at the primary healthcare level, at the primary school level in the last couple of years. But he did say that that is unsustainable. So while the litigation lasts at the different levels in court, what should be the intervention such that, the very important workers at the local government level in Osun State will be taking care of their welfare and indeed development at the grassroots level in Osun State will not suffer because of this dispute. The presidency should wade in while the judicial intervention subsists. But that's our program for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.
It's a conversation we'll keep having. I am Kelly Egiga. Have a fantastic day.